Señoras y señores, muy buenas tardes. En el año internacional.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. As part of this International Year on Family Farming, as part of the Global Dialogue on Family Farming, on behalf of the Minister for Agriculture, Livestock and Farming of Argentina, please accept this cordial welcome to this side event on agriculture in Argentina, family farming, public policy for development and research. Here with us today we have Mr. José Graciano da Silva, the Director General of the FIO. We are very grateful to him in particular for his presence and participation in this event. There is the Minister for Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries for Argentina, Mr. Carlos Miquela. There is the a colleague from the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries. There's Mr. Francisco Angeleza, Chair of INTA, Mr. Daniel Bareles from the Association of Ecological Producers in Cañuelas, a province of Buenos Aires in Argentina, Mr. Barcos Fonilla from the Chamber of Agricultural Machinery Manufacturing for Family Farming in Argentina. Then there is a presentation looking in at the Argentinian experience, looking to the future, with representatives from the FAO, FMR, specifically Justin Ois, and IFOM. Then there's the ex-ambassador of Argentina to the FAO, IFAD and the WFP. He will be the moderator of this panel and he'll stay with us for the duration of this event. Thank you, Roberto. Good afternoon to you all. First of all, I would just like to extend a particular welcome to the Director General of the United Nations Organization, the FAO, for this invitation and for this event, Mr. Graciano da Silva, and the Minister for Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries of Argentina. And I'd also like to welcome these speakers who will be here today, the members of the Argentinian delegation who've come from our country. I'd like to say hello, extend my greetings to the ambassadors here today. Many of them indeed are friends. They work here at the FAO in diplomatic corps. They are representatives also of the civil society. There's representatives of the productive sector, both ladies and gentlemen. And I just want to give a few words. For me, it is a great honour as a representative of the Argentine Republic to inaugurate this conference, which is being held as part of the Global Dialogue on Family Farming. In particular, as part of 2014, the International Year of Family Farming. As I was saying, I'd like to extend particular thanks to the Director General of the FAO for being present here today on this panel. For us, the issue of family farming is inextricably linked, intimately linked indeed, to food security and nutrition. These are areas of crucial importance for the policies of the Argentinian government. It's also linked to production and more particularly to its facet, which is social inclusion. We support agriculture, family farming, not only because it taps into traditional knowledge and safeguards that knowledge and provides food to the world, but also because it is a mechanism to increase income, to create decent work, and to improve and facilitate the better distribution of wealth. In that connection, in this brief introductory address, I'd just like to remind the room that family farming has to be seen as linked with social cohesion. There has to be as an instrument to strengthen regional development and seen as a way of developing the well-being of small scale farmers in Argentina and across the world indeed in general. Argentina is re-evaluating sustainable production practices, looking at education of agricultural communities and using technical cooperation. Also, these are crucial tools if we are to make progress in this field. It is a great honour to, as the ambassador, to have the agricultural minister of my country with me and to have all these speakers with us here today who will talk about what Argentina is specifically doing in this area. With that, I give the floor to the Director General of the FAO, José Graciano da Silva.
Gracias, embajador.
Thank you, Ambassador. I'd like to extend my welcome to the Minister of Agriculture, Carlos Miquela, Minister of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries from Argentina, permanent representatives to the FAO, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honour to be here today with you and welcome you to the FAO. I'd like to begin by congratulating Argentina for its commitment to the promotion of family farming, not only within its national borders but also across the world. I think that the example set by Argentina is one which should be followed by other countries. They can look at that example as an example of how we can promote family farming without neglecting agribusiness. In this session, we'll discuss public policy for family farming. And consequently, I'd like to thank Argentina Ambassador Claudio Rosenweil for having made it possible for us to make progress on this issue, looking in greater depth at what's happening on Argentinian territory. I have always closely followed the path taken by Argentina, even before I joined the FAO. And subsequently I did so from the Regional Office of Latin America and the Caribbean in Santiago. And I can say that the Argentinian government has bolstered the institutions of this sector in quite a striking, incredible fashion. I do think that among the various initiatives that have been launched, there's 5 of particular note. There's first the creation of the Secretariat for Agriculture for Family Farming. You will subsequently hear about this secretariat and about the importance of strong institutions for the promotion of family farming. The second important initiative was the adoption of criteria for the identification of initiatives, family farming initiatives and holdings, and this identification procedure was based on criteria adopted by the REAF, the specialized meeting on family farming organized by Mercosur. The third initiative was the establishment of a register of family farmers, both ladies and gentlemen, in order to which would feed into public policy. This was developed by RENAF. Then, fourth initiative, the creation of laws to provide support to public policy. These include the new seeds law, the provisions which exempt family farming from the payment of royalties. The fifth initiative was the establishment of a national forum for dialogue for sustainable agriculture, with a view to strengthening social dialogue on the future of the Argentinian agricultural sector with the support of the major social stakeholders. Consequently, I think that Argentina does indeed have capacity to transfer the technology it needs and does have high-quality government agencies. In particular, there is INTA, the National Institute for Farming Technology of Argentina. This ministry was integral in its establishment. Then there's RECA. This is a mechanism which, like the other one I mentioned, does facilitate the development of agricultural family farming and facilitate the implementation of necessary technology. These agencies have looked to highlight the role of family farming. Argentina has given it a primordial place on its policy agenda, looking in particular at agro-ecological practice. I would once again recall that we did hold a meeting recently on agro-ecological practices with some 100 people involved, and that was part of the Agroecology Week. Argentina also established a close, strong link between the family farming and machinery necessary for family farming. It looked at those two issues in parallel. Here we've got a representative who worked on the issue of agricultural machinery for family farming here with us today. The use of appropriate machinery is important because, of course, and the use of adapted machinery is very important because family farming has specific needs where machinery is concerned. This representative who worked on agricultural machinery will be able to share his experience with us, and other representatives will give similar experiences from Africa, for example. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to conclude by thanking the Argentinian government for its support to the work which the FAO has undertaken in recent years. I assure you that this organisation will continue to work with and support the Argentinian government as far as it can. Many thanks for your attention.
Bueno, muchas gracias.
Thank you very much to the Director General of FAO. I'll now give the floor to the Minister of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries of Argentina, Mr. Carlos Casamiquela.
Me están dando instrucciones de...
I'm being told how to deal with these cables and computer. Hello to you all. Thank you very much, Graciano, for being present here today at this meeting and essentially for your kind words. I'd also like to thank all of you in advance for your support and presence. And thank you all out there for taking part in this event. The aim is to share with you what's been happening in Argentina in terms of strengthening and rendering family farming more visible in our country, Argentina. I took part this morning in a panel, which was, well, I was taken aback because I was told that there were 36 to 38 definitions of family farming. Well, this isn't number 37. This isn't really a definition, but rather a notion, Argentina's vision of what family farming entails. And what you'll see here is that we're actually talking about a lifestyle, an outlook. We're talking about the productive unit, the family unit, of course, and families contribute the manual labor, their strength. And we're not just talking about the agriculture sector, but also related sectors such as fisheries. So in each and every topic that we address, you'll be able to also see aquaculture, the use of internal waters, bodies of water, and seas. We are also looking to replicate this mechanism, and that also calls for a balance in our country's productive systems. Today we've been talking about this all day, so some things might seem a little redundant. But I'd like to say that family farming, according to our vision, essentially has to do with inclusion in the social, political, and development system in our country. And I'd like to reiterate the comment I made earlier today on the role of the state, which can often redress the fundamental imbalances in our country. It's a fundamental player in food security, and those who don't know our country very well, I can say that in Buenos Aires and the outskirts, well, there are 3.5 million people living there, and there are some 4,700 producers in this area, and they produce several thousand tons of food every day. Aside from family farming, we're also looking at urban and peri-urban agriculture, because this is perhaps a new solution to the problems we're addressing. Let's look at the issue of added value. We wish to enhance the development of raw material into food products in order to better harness the labor which is on offer in Argentina, and especially involve youth, a population group who sometimes doesn't have access to good employment. And lastly, family farming involves the local level. We have some 3 million square meters in our country. I don't know how well you can see this up there on the screen, but every little red spot is 10 producers, represents 10 producers. Obviously, there are much fewer producers in the south because they're desert areas, such as Patagonia, and living conditions there are much more difficult. So clearly, the ratio is smaller or lower in the south of the country. Just 3 figures to give you an idea of what family farming entails in our country. 65% of producers, that is 220,000 producers over a 330,000 square meter area. They produce 20% of our agricultural GDP. That amounted to $197,000 last year, and they generate 53% of agricultural employment in the country. The red dot map translates into this. As you can see, the biggest level of producers concentrated in the north, 33% in the northeast, almost 30% in the Pampas, some 13% in the center, and 5% in the south in Patagonia. From the institutional point of view, our ministry includes 5 different bodies. The INTA, that's involved in research and extension, SENASA, which deals with animal and plant health, the INV, which deals with wine production, INASE, which deals with seeds, and INIDEP, which deals with fishery development. Currently, Argentina is structured thus, and the Agriculture Ministry is one which was recreated after a 35-year vacuum. So we've started a new stage. So what Graciano was saying about the creation of the Secretariat, well, actually we've recreated a whole ministry which now includes family farming. So I just wanted to talk briefly about a few government decisions which have taken place in the last years. As you can see here, there was the creation of the National Forum for Family Farming, which basically involves civil society, farmers and other producers who can meet, talk about public policy, and their work is entirely integrated with our ministry, so they are active participants in drafting public policy. Secondly, the creation in the framework of family farming of a research center which has 5 offices across the country and basically works toward an active research model where the beneficiaries or end users are active participants in defining the problem, the methodology, and the route that needs to be followed in order to solve that problem, and to ensure that we have adequate technology. And as Graciano was saying, the needs which pertain to a high input type of farming and family farming are completely different. So that's a very important achievement for our country. Thirdly, in 2007, we created a national registry for family farming. And Graciano also mentioned this. And 105,000 people are part of this. It essentially involves institutions, identifies individuals and potential end users for the state undertakings. A very important issue from the productive and social point of view is the implementation of the social agricultural single contribution. This is an agreement which involves the Agriculture, Fisheries and Livestock Ministry and the Social Development Ministry. It incorporates family farming and all the benefits, social benefits, and income for formal economy. It also enables state providers to become involved in direct purchases, facilitates access to better trade channels, and brings in $14 million a year, which benefit 35,000 people or families. Another achievement was the creation of the Family Farming Secretariat, which we've already talked about. I'm not going to repeat myself there. And this year we also created a Family Farming and Indigenous Council. This is a forum for the design and implementation of strategic public policy. It was driven by a new situation in our country on the part of Indigenous people. The recognition of Indigenous people, not only in their existence, but also their ability to drive sustainable development and consolidate family farming. And lastly, I think this is the last point, something else we've done this year, is that the organization that is in charge of food checks and safety was recognized for their ability to export grains and meat. I'll try to be frank. Argentina has been doing this for several decades. So quality and quantity and safety controls were already prepared to check the safety of the foods that they were exporting. But we are reviewing some of the institutional factors in order to ensure that we can indeed guarantee this type of safety for some of the things that we produce on our family farms. So I thought it was important that we highlight that, and it was important also to share that with you. Let's look at some of the future plans and projects. Some have a local component. We look at macro-regional problems, the Northeast, Northwest, and Patagonia. We have had some significant help there, some support, which I always like to highlight. That's IFAD's support for each one of those projects. And as Graciano said, we like to support rural innovation, and we're involved in funding the work of smallholder farmers in Argentina. There's another approach, which is that of the supply chain. In sugar production, beekeeping, or the wine sector. And there's an added value there in these original quality products. We're also seeking to find solutions to some of the problems which were mentioned today. One of these is access to natural resources, water, for instance, and land in terms of titles, land tenure, and ownership. These are problems which clearly we need to find a solution to. Financing. Well, I'll reiterate this. The same amount of institutional and economic resources that is needed for every producer to produce better and more, that same effort needs to be invested in ensuring that organizations ensure that the steps they're taking forward will not be undone, and in order to therefore ensure sustainable development. We're also working on training, capacity building, and separately youth. Gender also comes into this. This is something which we consider, but this may not have the same impact here as it might in other sectors. But we are working specifically on training, capacity building, and youth, and trying to see how we can build a different future. These are a few pictures which give you an idea of our working methods and the type of meetings that we hold. This is a core issue, and there are dedicated programs which look at strengthening trade mechanisms for our products. There are currently 750 fairs in our country where producers take their fresh produce and sell them straight to the consumer. We're also working on small-scale local markets and on the development of small suppliers to cities of 100 or 150 of population of 100 to 150,000. That's one example of what I was talking about. There's an active link with the international sphere, the involvement in specialized meetings on family farming. Also, the Parliamentary Front Against Hunger is involved in our initiatives in deepening political dialogue and decisions. CELAC, as you know, they are the Latin American Caribbean community which decided that family farming was going to be one of the pillars of policy at the government level. And we have worked intensely with them during the year of family farming. And we have been drivers of FAO's initiative to continue to develop policies in Argentina. Lastly, and this is a very new initiative, currently our Chamber of Deputies, along with with another body, is looking at a draft law on family farming, and we hope that the Argentine Republic will have adopted this law by the end of the year, a law on family farming. These are regulations which we need to regulate the sector in order to enhance and further foster these initiatives. This is quite interesting. This is a little chili plant, and the dome you see behind that is the Argentinian Congress. So I'd like to leave you on that note and with the wish that our law will soon come into force in our country. Thank you very much for your attention.
Bueno, muchas gracias.
Okay, many thanks to Minister Casamikira, many thanks to the Director General, Graciano, who just had to leave us. I'm now going to give the floor to Dr. Ramiro Fresneda, who is the Undersecretary for Institutional Strengthening. He will discuss the creation of the Secretariat for Family Farming.
Muchas gracias.
Many thanks. Good afternoon to you all. I would just ask you for a little bit more of your time after almost 10 hours of work. We're all tired, of course, but at the same time we are very motivated by this meeting, which brings us all together from countries across the world, discussing issues which are so crucial and of such pivotal importance as family farming. Our ministry has drawn up a detailed summary of the progress made in this area, and I simply wanted to say that we think it is important to take into account where we've come from so that we know where we're going. Well, in Argentina, after the long dawn era of neoliberalism, which was enjoyed by all countries in Latin America, there are now around 200,000 family farming areas. But what happened is the sector's been overlooked thanks to neoliberalism, and that's not just the case in our country but of the region as a whole. And I think the evidence is overwhelming that put forward by Mr. Graciano de Silva when he said this morning that we have now put family farming on the public agenda, but that is just a beginning and there's a lot left to be done. As the ministry and as the Argentinian state, we do indeed have a lot to do, because for a long time we've been working extensively on making the sector more visible in developing public policy which are differentiated and adapted to family farming. in that connection, I'm just going to make a few brief comments on what often the organizations working in the family farming sector often consider, and I'm going to look at their overwhelming needs. They needed us to work on public policy, on land tenure, on public policies relating to access to land, on strengthening the rule of law, but at the same time the productive apparatus. There was also the issue of the rights to water for production and consumption. Just on that issue of the progress that we've made as a country, we would just like to briefly say that as a nation, as a state, our National Congress has adopted laws related to family farming and the rural sector in general. We adopted the law 26/27/33, which pertains to the problem of ownership in the rural area. This is known as the law which is looking at regulating land tenure, and we think that's a very important law in this issue to guarantee food sovereignty and political sovereignty and economic independence. At the same time, there is the law 26331, which is also looking at regulation of the agricultural sector. It's a very important piece of law because family farming, peasant communities, indigenous peoples, their potential lies in this alternative area. So we're looking at drawing up a map of all these areas, and we've been working with the technicians in our agricultural ministry together with the Secretariat of the Environment on this issue. There's 26/27/70 is a law which is to do with the regulation of land for indigenous people, bringing our legislation into harmony with international legislation in this area, and is in line with Article 75 of the Constitution. There's also a law on agrarian reform, and that's an important step forward because this law looks to guarantee the rights enjoyed by rural workers. They often are working in family farms. Of course, they do work on rural land, but they often also do depend on agro businesses, so that looks to protect them. We've made clear progress in a number of areas where rights are concerned and extending the rights of vulnerable peoples, and we've been able to identify clearly what's lacking and what's necessary for the upcoming agenda. And here we've identified the issue. We're looking to identify issues as part of our diagnosis, but with a view to developing policies appropriate for these problems. As like many countries in the region, we have the problem of legal insecurity with land tenure. There is people being terped from their land, and their ownership isn't official. With the Ministry and with the former Undersecretariat of Agriculture, we've been working on a detailed report looking at the issue of tenure, and we focused on Ona and Nea, two regions of our country, and we saw that there was a lack or insufficiency of public policy, and these loopholes meant that tenure was weak. When we look at tenure, we're looking at family farmers, of course. They have got a right to be on that land because they have held that land and its productive resources in a peaceful fashion for a long time, but there have been no public policies on a provincial level protecting that ownership. These policies have been lacking to make their ownership very official, and that's a structural issue which organisations are considering, and we are working extensively on this matter with the provincial authorities. For example, there's the province of Chaco that's just adopted a family farming law. There's the Rio Negro province, the Pampa province, the Salta province, the Janditor province, and they are looking at laws to stop people from being turfed from their lands, stripped of their lands. In the Salta province in the north of the country has signalled to us that there is a debate around creating a land bank, not only to solve the problem of legal insecurity, but also to shore up access to land and increase access to land. There's also the problem of the exodus of young people to the poor areas of major urban conurbations, and we're seeing this across our territory. This, of course, is linked closely. This is a problem of a regional nature, of course, and at the same time, there is an efficient policy in place at the moment, which was based on a youth and immigration study, which we developed jointly with the United Nations and the Undersecretary. And we are looking with this policy to nip this problem of youth migration in the bud, taking into account, well, this policy is looking to ensure that young people can continue to study in their area. Policies are looking to create employment at the same time. There's a difficulty of access to credit. There's the issue of difficult access to justice. That is crucial also, because as our chair said, there is, and our president said, there are many loose ends to be tied up there. There's a lack of access to justice, a lack of access to constitutionally guaranteed rights in the sector, of course. So we do need to discuss this with the judges working on the country. There is a study that's being carried out on land ownership, and land tenure, which has allowed us to work jointly with with provinces who have this, with the issue of land tenure within their remit. So we've been working with them. As our ministry said, there's the round table for sustainable agriculture. This was an innovative initiative which allowed us to work on the issue of conflict situations and work on building a sustainable project, not only sustainable from an economic point of view, but also environmental and social point of view. I am here available to you, and I just wanted to thank you for being here with me today. As Argentinians, as an Argentinian state, after more than 30 years of democracy, we can firmly state that for land, agricultural, family farming, securing land for family farming is upholding our identity. We cannot allow in Argentina, Latin America, the world as a whole, that any man is without land to produce and live. Thank you.
Muchas gracias
Thank you very much, Mr. Fresneda, and especially for your remark on democracy and what our country has done in the last 30 years after the frightful dictatorship which we had in our country. I'd now like to give the floor to the chairperson of INTA, Mr. Francisco Anglesio, who will be talking about INTA's role in research and family farming. Good afternoon to you all. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, Minister, and everyone who's here with us today. As Ramiro said, it gets a little tough with all the hours we've put in with the heat, so thank you all for all those who are still here. I'd also like to welcome the fact that we can talk to all the producers in our country, anyone who's listening out there. So I'd also like to thank FAO for giving us this opportunity. I'm going to be telling you a little bit about what family farming is all about in Argentina. Sometimes we forget exactly what family farming is in Argentina. So I'd very briefly like to tell you what INTA does and how exactly it works to ensure there's outreach and to work with all the institutions in the country and to engender tools with which to improve livelihoods on a daily basis. INTA is a decentralized public body which works under the Agriculture, Fisheries and Livestock Ministry in the country. Its two main roles are research and extension work. Why am I telling you about this? What research and extension mean in our country to INTA? We really want to be able to give producers what they need, to be in contact with producers and give them the tools which change what their day-to-day production means. That's why research is so important. And I'd like to highlight some of the words of Minister Casamiqueda when he talked about what the state is. It can either be present or absent. And as you know, when there's a vacuum, then the poor bear the brunt of this. So why am I talking about this? It's been 4 years since President Kirchner's term came to an end. Agricultural investment takes time, it takes money, and I think that you'd be very happy to see that we're still working on this and we're still developing his work. In the last 10 to 12 years, INTA has grown immeasurably and has gone from a budget of 140,000 pesos to a much larger amount, and that has enabled us to develop our technology and projects across Argentina. Here you can see how institutions are involved. There's a distance of 5,400 kilometers from one end of the country to the other. We've also doubled our staff. Our budget has been multiplied by 18, and our investment is 20 times what it used to be. And that means that everyone who works for us has not only a computer, but also all the necessary tools with which to develop their knowledge. INTA's aim, and it's existed for 57 years, has always been to strengthen local, regional, and national development and therefore contribute to social, economic, and environmental sustainability of the Argentinian agri-food system, seeking to find social equity, environmental health, and competitiveness. What is our aim? What happens when we develop family farming at the national level? It's a social, economic, and cultural project. Food production, job generation, making the regional economy more dynamic, the involvement of the local sector, safeguarding biodiversity, contributing to food sovereignty and sovereignty, knowledge transfer between generations, and trade channels, direct or shorter trade channels. This allows us to go straight from the producer to the consumer, therefore narrowing the margins. Here we have a list of all the different players because we know them and we work with them on a daily basis. Farmers, small-scale landowners, smallholders, livestock herders, those who are involved in fairs, artisanal fisher folk, vegetable producers, florists, urban and peri-urban gardeners, rural artisanal producers. We'd like to highlight every single one of these people and more because every single level has a different approach, and INTA plays a fundamental role in this. Very quickly, as Ambassador Casamiquela mentioned a few figures, I'd like to say that aside from representing 66% of the country's productive units, we represent 13.5% of the country's arable land, 53% of rural manual labor, and 20% of agricultural GDP. And these are the proportions with which we're distributed. In the north, we represent 80%. In the northeast, 79%. That's family farming. In Cuyo, 55%. In the Pampean region, 59%. And in Patagonia, family farming represents 48%. And family farmers account for 88% of cassava production, 44% of cotton production, and many others. We've also developed a policy which aims to adapt and harness the appropriate technology for the development of this sector. Family farmers are those who develop the different technologies which we make available to our producers. They work closely with different research lines, and we can add to this what we think is extremely important, which is local management. We call local managers understanders. They are the managers. They're the ones who need to provide the answers. And as an institution, we have been working with them to develop policy. We've developed appropriate technologies for water. We have different types of pumps and tanks. And I'd like to go into a little more detail now, because the first time I spoke as chairperson of INTA, I was in the Salta region, and I asked the technicians how our producers did what they do. And I was told, Pancho, when we got here, we realized exactly how long it took, 6 hours to get water for their families. So we started using technology which belonged to their ancestors, and we were able to deliver water to their doorstep. So now our producers use those 6 hours for production activities. So as a state policy, we truly improve the living conditions of our people. I think it's fundamental, and I was really struck by this. They used to take 6 hours just to obtain water for their families. I think it's extraordinary. So not only have we been working on the use of this technology, we've also developed appropriate technology for producers to broaden their production and to be able to harvest their production. We have extremely avant-garde machinery for our harvesting. We've been exporting to Uruguay, to Costa Rica, and our technicians are the ones who have developed these types of machinery, and this is being replicated at a regional level in our workshops. It's important for us that they be able to produce these in their small provinces rather than large multinationals. So this is our target, and we think that this is one of the ways in which to tackle this problem. I know we don't have much time, but I just wanted to show you a few types of technology that use renewable energy. A solar-powered stove, a solar-powered freezer box, which is not only going to enable us to save energy, but also to conserve vaccines, for example, and therefore foster the health of our country. We have an arsenic problem, and our solar-powered distiller is extremely important in providing good quality drinking water. We've also been working closely with universities. We've been working with 42 universities at a national level, in five different forums at the national level. And we had the first national forum on family farming in one of our regions. Here we have representatives from CAMAF, a chamber of producers for family farming. We have created a cluster with them, and that was a stepping stone for us to work with small and medium-sized enterprises in the production of over 300 different types of machinery and tools. So I just wanted to tell you exactly how we've been working and the type of activities we've undertaken. I also just wanted to tell you that we've been working on international outreach, technological development, knowledge generation, partnerships. Brazil, Chile, and Paraguay. We've been working with CELAC. We've been working with the Caribbean, Africa, Angola. We also have an extraordinary experience in cooperation with Haiti, which has been a beneficiary of our Puerta technology. And we've been working on food development, food sovereignty, and we're very proud to be working in this sense because we truly believe that South-South cooperation brings us all together, strengthens us, and will lead us to prosperity for all. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here, and we hope to continue working with all of you and to continue sharing knowledge on family farming. Thank you.
Muchas gracias al ingeniero Anglés.
Many thanks. Many thanks. I'm sure that the engineer had many other important things to add to his presentation that he wasn't able to say. But anyway, I now give the floor to Mr. Daniel Paredes, a family farmer from the Agro, the farming cooperative APS in Canuelas, near Buenos Aires. I am stand shoulder to shoulder with the indigenous people of Latin America, Asia, America, Africa and other continents. Indigenous people, ladies and gentlemen, ambassadors, colleagues. It's very difficult to be in this forum here today, but anyway, my colleagues of Argentina pushed me to be here today, and so I'm going to try and do my best as our colleagues, our technician colleagues and our illustrious colleagues from such a prestigious institution have invited me here today, so I will do my best. I am here on behalf of INTA, but I don't belong to INTA, but it is, if you like, a piece of us is within INTA. Many of the things which officials touched on today struck a chord with us. We participate in the decisions which will produce a different sort of Argentina which has rediscovered happiness, if you like. I benefit from these new policies of social inclusion in Argentina because a year ago I retired as a family farmer because of what that state had done for me. The state wasn't pursuing us, hunting us down as it had done, but was supporting us and enabled me to retire. It's supporting our youth and enabled me, in doing so, to hand down a lot of happiness and a great deal of wisdom to the generations which would follow on from me as I took my retirement. I'd like to say that the family farmers of America have jointly developed another way of thinking. We think according to agro-ecological principles, and thinking according to these principles is not a merely technological question. Thinking of agroecology and considering this as an approach is to consider the whole chain of labour which goes into a produce. It's to consider all of the people who will have access to this product. It is to think of how much it will contribute to their health. It is to think about how we can equitably ensure the distribution of this produce and the supply of this produce and the access to this product. It is to think about bolstering these social bonds which bind people together, bolster community development through local markets. It is to think about saving energy both within the productive system and within the marketing and trade system. It is to consider and think about caring for our Mother Earth, the environment. It is to think of the human being as an integral and indivisible part of the environment. And to do so seriously, it is to think about the food security of our peoples and to think about their sovereignty. It is to think about the need to respect our culture. It is to consider biological diversity and cultural diversity. It is to think with love in our hearts, but not just to think. After thinking, we of course need to take action, and it is in this logic that I was brought here and that I came here to talk to you about some of the actions, initiatives which family farmers are launching and are fully committed to. More than 20 years ago saw us begin to build in Latin America a movement, Mayela, the Agro-Ecological movement of Latin America, Mayela, which less than a month ago participated quite rightly in this first symposium of agroecology, which was held and which we saluted with such fervour in Latin America because it was the first time that agroecology was present in such a way within the FAO and the United Nations. This Mayela movement does, yes, intend to fight against hunger, because hunger is the real true threat to the right which is so crucial, and that is the right to life. This right is permanently violated by this globalized world, and for this reason we must think and produce what our brother needs, not what we want to do, no, what our brother needs. We need to take his culture into account, what he wants to make with his culture, with his climate, with his seeds which are protected from the greedy appetite of multinationals, produced with his earth, with his knowledge, with his time and with his organizations, with his structures. And that's how we need to produce. For this and for many other reasons, our training as farmer folk should not be simply technological, but it also has to be profoundly rooted in social concerns and the organizational structures of our communities. In more specific terms, the training they receive needs to be a political training, so that these farmers and we indeed can together create our future. I would just like to once again emphasize that together with the state and our organizations, we have launched various distance learning qualifications and made those available across all four corners of Argentina. One of these diplomas that we instituted was one for technicians, students, was for farmer folk indeed, and it has two major prongs to it. One is agroecology and one is social and solidarity-based economy. We think that this union of these two pillars makes it possible to think of a food future which is healthy for people. Healthy diets are a right, a crucial right indeed of peoples. Research needs to move along those lines and take that into account, bringing together scientific principles and technical principles of agroecological and family farming in a territorial model. There's a very successful model of research currently underway, and that is participatory research. That needs to be spread further across the territory and across the continent because it's already proved to be successful in our country. It makes it possible, this participatory research approach makes it possible to move towards true rural development. It brings together science, technology and the knowledge of family farmers and allows everyone to take real ownership of joint knowledge. And this allows them, amongst other things, to produce joint knowledge. The progress made with institutions such as INTA and other research institutions in our country here present today have made us see things differently as family farmers and given us a different position because we do feel strengthened. We've got a whole wealth of technological knowledge behind us. We are strengthened from a political point of view, also an organizational perspective. We are discussing and putting into orders of priority different processes for production. Agroecological producers and family farmers feel part of that process. Together with this state, we've been able to hold dialogues, research and really intervene in the decision-making process. And this is letting us develop an agriculture for and with life. It's allowing us to develop a new production model and showing us that a new model of production really is possible, one which will protect the food sovereignty of peoples. Just by way of summary, we've come to this dialogue to say to you that our country has reclaimed hope, has reclaimed the joy of living, has rediscovered that joy, found a new way of thinking, of organizing itself. We now have an Argentina where agricultural producers feel committed to and an integral part of the workings of a society where social justice protects us in our everyday activities to protect Mother Earth. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Daniel Bareilles. We are touched by your presentation. Thank you very much, Daniel. We now have Marcos Folonier from the Chamber of Producers of Machinery for Family Farming. You have the floor.
Buenas tardes a todos.
Good afternoon to you all. Firstly, I'd like to thank FAO for enabling us to take part in this event. I'd also like to thank the Ministry of Farming, Fisheries and Livestock, the Secretariat for Farming, Livestock and Fisheries, the Secretariat for Family Farming, INTA, and all those who have been working toward today and to make today possible. I'd like to steal a few minutes of your time before we start our Argentinian wine tasting.
Tengo la suerte que está al revés.
This presentation is backwards. Wonderful. Who are we? This concept of appropriate machinery for family farming engenders a completely different vision of what machinery is needed for the agro-industrial system. So what happens? Producers in this context of family farming didn't have a way to work in an organized fashion vis-a-vis this type of technology. Technology did exist, but the lack of strong institutions, the lack of communication, despite the fact that information did exist, access to information was a problem, so it was difficult to draft policies in this regard and to contribute to development. So recently, a group of small and micro enterprises was formed, which began to support the development of family farming. Of course, as was mentioned here, we went through some very tough times, such as in 2001, as you'll remember. And at these times of crisis, you start to question many things, including the elements of development. The core objective of our organization is to contribute to the development of the sector, which has to do with appropriate technology for family farming. Fundamentally, we wish to improve what we consider to be a critical aspect, that is quality in our work. We want to improve policies, which means that youth will have an incentive to become involved in this type of activity. Because when we lack communication, power, and other infrastructure, young producers feel discouraged. And that's very clear to us, and that's something we want to highlight. We have specific objectives, such as strengthening and safeguarding groups such as producers, manufacturers. But we think it's important to backstop scientific and technological structures and a horizontal involvement of all the relevant players, which is why in the last 5 years or so, well, in the years spanning 2010 to 2015, we've defined some core things that we've been working on: institutional enhancement, making development and technology transfer possible, along with other institutions such as INTA, as the chairperson of INTA mentioned, support to trade, because we need to highlight the fact that the concept of a business, which some people sometimes have, differs essentially from other people's concept of what a business is. Providing services and earning an income differs significantly from what a business is in agro-industrial terms. Financing for production, let's not forget that. But fundamentally, and this is something I wanted to highlight, we're about consolidating interinstitutional networks. And what does that mean? State policies mean that this chamber is an important element in channeling the state's initiatives in reaching knowledge producers and technology producers alike, and that is a fundamental pillar. These are some recent events which were triggered by what we consider the origin of our institutional existence. But it's not about comparing one initiative with another. It all started in 2008 when in Puerto Tirol, a city in the north of the country, there was a good turnout of producers and manufacturers who decided to talk about how to develop appropriate technology. We think that was a watershed event. And if you wish, we have some material that you can consult at the end of this meeting, in which you'll find a list of all those different events. We're not just present in Argentina, but on the back of strong links that we've established with our neighboring countries, many different manufacturers have a presence in other Latin American countries, essentially. Now, why is that the case? Because we need to find common solutions. And that means that this has generated support and a common vision of what appropriate technologies might represent. We found that it's not about selling or finding a type of machinery that will solve a problem, but the crux of what we propose is that along with that tool, there be shared and accumulated knowledge. And most of the time it's not about the machine itself, it's about teaching our neighboring country how to build that machinery, which means that technology integration is also a determining factor in this concept. This table simply shows the cumulative effect of participation. There's a strong presence of workshop managers. There are service providers who reform, renew, overhaul the sector, and they don't produce a huge amount of machinery, but rather support and assist others in solving problems and finding solutions in other parts of the country. As INTA remarked earlier, we actually have a major proportion of producers in the Pampas region, and this is a product of the organization's regional structure. Some factors I wanted to draw your attention to. I'm running out of time, unfortunately. I just wanted to reiterate what we bring to the family farming sector, because that is the driver for many of the changes we've made in our lives. I personally teach at a university, and I am in fact a fourth generation family farmer. So this is something I couldn't just ignore. This is something which I carry very close to my heart, and I've seen it in my children as well. They see this as a possible solution to creating better lives for all. At the national and local level, we've had quite a few achievements, but I'd like to highlight into resolution number 640/14, which has enabled us to find a channel through which to support technological development at several levels. We're very proud of this achievement, and it's given us new types of responsibility, and we all agree that this is the way things should be. Just a few pictures to illustrate our activities. We divided this into 4 different activities: land and environment, cultural activities, added value, soil, water, and other types of energy treatment. So just a few pictures here. That's something we use with which to sow our products, our crops, and it has won very interesting international prizes. Machinery for different sectors. This is the same type of machinery that Inta showed, but there are companies that are linked with the manufacturing of certain parts and components, added value, energy, and that's it for the pictures. Once again, thank you all, and I hope that the spirit of family farming will take root. I think that this type of event is exactly what we need. It reflects that spirit. Thank you.
Gracias, Marco Follonier.
Many thanks, Marco Forgonier. We are now coming to the end of our list of speakers. This discussion will be followed by a tasting session of Argentinian wines, which the authorities have brought us today. I now give the floor to the representatives of FAO, IFOAM and FMR so that they can close our discussion. Thank you. Good afternoon. For me, it is an honour to be here today, and I am deeply grateful to the government of Argentina and to Inter for having invited me here today and for allowing me to share our experience of family farming in Argentina. Personally, it's been a dream of mine to come from here. I was a student of agroeconomy in Argentina in the 1970s, and I'm now a professor. And I inaugurated new faculty in agronomy and research, indeed. And this, of course, is an approach which is enabling small people who were living in poverty, smallholders, allowing them to bring them out of poverty and improve their living conditions. So to come here and talk about this experience today has always been a dream of mine. So thank you very much. I think the issue of indigenous development is important, and Argentina is working on that as part of its family farming work. What we're doing is looking to bring together all issues: agroecology, the issue of access to market, environmental issues, of course. When we look at organic farming, these are the principles which guide us, the principles of caring for health, the environment, and individuals. So these are all the facets of our work. I think it's important to work on all of these issues. It's important for us to be able to share all these issues with the international community, as we did as part of the Proeta project. This was a significant experiment that we had, which allowed us to facilitate the development of the poorest strata of society, which were living on subsistence-based farming. It began life as a project related to organic vegetable gardens, and a vegetable garden project, and then extended to other Latin American countries and may indeed extend to across the planet. This example needs to be discussed, shown to others. It's important that this example develops, grows, and gives rise to a broader movement in Latin America and across the world. These issues, the issue of developing agriculture in a sustainable fashion is being looked at. The issue also of developing the market. Of course, what we're really concerned with is the planet's well-being. Resources are scarce, and we need to look at another form of agriculture and change our current models of production. And this Pro Huerta project is an example that everyone could follow. follow. Thank you.
Doy la palabra.
I now give the floor to Mr. Dies from the World Rural Forum.
Buenas.
Good evening. Thank you to the organisers, to the colleagues who have supported us here today at the table. I'm going to talk, this is a very important event. I would thank particularly Danielle and Christina's from their very interesting presentations, but I think all of them have been relevant. In the World Rural Forum, we're now already in October, in the final straight of the year, and we are, amongst other things, dealing with or looking at highlighting the value of everything that's been achieved in the IYFF. For example, the increase in the budget of Nepal, or the draft law on land tenure, which was previously discussed in the plenary session by a colleague from Gambia. There's the international project for the project for family farming, which is being developed in Costa Rica with extensive participation of the civil society. So we're taking stock of everything that we've achieved in this year. And as part of that stock-taking exercise, we're looking at the progress that we've made, and we're looking to come here today and discuss in particular the progress that was made in Argentina. I'd also like to say that some of this progress made, for example, those related to the creation of strong institutions. This is a process which has occurred in Argentina and indeed across an extended Mercosur. These are experiences which are seen very favourably by other regions, and consequently, we are extending our experiences across the WRF network. There is an attempt currently underway, an attempt to create mechanisms for political dialogue at regional level on public policies for family farming in Central America or in the southeast of Asia, for example. I think these are experiences and experiments which have been underway for some time, which do take a long time indeed to reach fruition, but which are seen favourably across the region. Very quickly, I'd just like to perhaps flag up 3 ideas which for us are highly relevant in the issue that we're grappling with today, that is family farming and research. The first of these is the need, I'd say the need to bestow value upon the existing knowledge on the ground on a local level. We have to give value to that which agricultural producers have been doing for years and years. The second idea, which I just wanted to highlight, and this was previously discussed, was the need to undertake serious research into public policies for family farming. In my view, this is a sphere in which efforts have been made, and I think we need to step up our efforts in this area. In addition to researching public policy, we also need to strive to investigate public policy and ensure it's consistent, and that all policies developed in the region are consistent. The third and final idea that I wish to highlight was that the advantage and the need, the advantage, I would say, of promoting with increasing further participation of civil society in research processes. Their effective participation, of course it has to be effective, their effective participation in all of the research process and their relevant participation is indeed crucial. With regards to that last point, I'd just like to highlight the meeting which was organised in Montpellier in France in June 2014. Some of its organisers are also here with us today, and I'd just like to take this opportunity to greet them. This was a meeting organised jointly by the CGIAR consortium and the World Rural Forum. It also enjoyed the support of the French Ministry for Foreign Affairs and the French Agriculture Ministry. Approximately 70 countries meant around 235 participants, and producer organisations and civil society members were able to work together with various research centres that were there in an attempt to further promote within policy agenda, policy agendas, family farming, and within research agendas to give family farming a greater role. By way of conclusion, I'd just like to say that this path which we're currently trying to promote in Montpellier is precisely the path which the World Rural Forum wishes to continue its journey along. That is the path of increasingly promoting joint work and the participation of civil society in research processes, and indeed within all the research work which is necessary for the success of family farming. Thank you.
Bueno,
I would like, obviously, to thank the World Rural Forum. I'd also like to thank, before I give the remark to Minister Casamichela to close this panel, I'd just like to thank the audience here today. I'd obviously like to thank civil society, FAO colleagues, ambassadors. I can see many of my ambassador friends, the ambassador of Venezuela, the ambassador of Brazil, the ambassador of Liberia, the president of the Africa Group, a great friend. There are many ambassadors and colleagues here today from Latin America, so I'd like to thank them all for being present here today. Now we are going to sample a good number of Argentina wines, and to conclude, I give the floor to the Minister of Agriculture from Argentina. Many thanks. Our attempt was to aim was to share with you the experience of our country over the last 10 years in family farming, how we have reversed, how we continue to demonstrate a great deal of commitment to family farming. We have made a great deal of progress. I would ask for your apologies in advance, because our country, because to showcase all of this experience, we've had to slim things down a little bit. But we do have here representatives from industry, and I am thankful to them for their presence. All of these presentations are available for your enjoyment. They're freely accessible. And I'd just like to say, by way of conclusion, that I thank the FAO for the opportunity that they've given us to enjoy the use of this room, and for the resources that they've made available to us to organise this this conference. They've made this event possible, and I'd principally like to thank you for your patience in listening to all of these presentations and this summary of our work. Thank you.
bueno, y ahora sí los invitamos.
Yes, now we do invite you all to a drink, a cocktail reception followed by an Argentinian wine tasting to the right.